We are going to jump into our conversation today about WeatherTRAK support resources. So thank you for joining us. I am honored to have with me my very special guest, James Carr from BrightView out of Arizona. James joins us today as an experienced WeatherTRAK water manager and leading the charge for water management in Arizona. We have a lot of projects going down there that he is involved in. So we want to hear about his experience in customer support resources. I also have my partner in crime, Chris Mendiola. Chris is the vice president of customer service. So he leads the charge on our side for field support, answering the phone calls, making sure that our users out in the field have questions or have answers to whatever questions that they have. Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for joining me. James, I am looking forward to hearing some stories from you. And I want to start with the idea that we chose this topic together, right? When I select a special guest, I go through a process and we kind of identify what it is that is a hot button for you. And you decided to talk about WeatherTRAK support. And I'd like to hear a little bit about that. I'd like to hear why that was such an important issue for you.
Well, that's definitely an important issue because we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I'll bring everybody up to speed. The team achieves the dream. We at BrightView, we serve our clients who have teamed up with us to provide better water management, better landscaping. And we use that through various tools and resources like with WeatherTRAK. And so the key for that is we're dealing with a technical piece of irrigation equipment. So when we put it into the site, what we kind of need is we need a team approach to make sure that it goes in correctly and it gets managed correctly. And at the end of the day, our clients get the best possible results from that system. So throughout the life of this, the opportunities for teamwork and support are abundant. In the beginning, when we have a new site, there's a lot of issues at that site that we need professional kind of guidance and experience guidance. And one of the things that I love about WeatherTRAK is if we have a site with a potential for a smart controller install, they will make time to meet with us on the site, assess all the conditions. They also have some other tools like a nice form that you could fill out with locations of the controllers. They'll assess the signal strength. They'll assess the point of connection and the flow opportunities and really work with you and getting everything you need to put together a quote or numbers for your client as easy as possible. And then when it comes time to get those numbers together, they also provide a bunch of resource talking points and even potentially meeting with the client to help talk about the system, which really supports us in educating the client on why this would be a beneficial solution. And then from there in the life cycle, when we go to install it, there's hands-on, there's meeting on the site, there's making sure that everything is good and onboarded correctly. And then as our crews are out there working with these things, there's this technical support email that's like a wizard. You email it, you get a response really quickly. Usually somebody calls you. And beyond that, when you have new team members that come in that you've entrusted with this site, there's the WeatherTRAK training, which I don't want to throw you under the bus and increase your phone calls, Ben, but there's been many of Fridays at 5 p.m. where you've been on the phone with our team members offering training and guidance. And beyond that, there's the tools and the support that's on the actual dashboard. You've got a water budget feature. You've got resources. You've got all this stuff that it gives us the opportunity to give good reports to our clients and really make these clients feel comfortable and confident in their choices, as well as the direction that we're heading with managing their water.
That's awesome. So if I can recap very quickly, what we are going to talk about with Chris and I are going to talk about technical support stuff, but through your explanation, what you're saying is through our partnership, you're experiencing pre-sales support, you're experiencing sales support, you're experiencing customer support during the sales process, you're experiencing installation and field support, and then ongoing field support from the wizards at the 800 number or the wizards behind the email service, as well as training support that is critical to your success. So a foundation of many different arms of support that you are leveraging to your success. Now, tell me, how does that help you, right? How does that improve our results in the field to leverage all that going forward? How does that help you gain or keep momentum?
What it does is it takes away the difficult roadblock, right? A lot of times there's this roadblock of what we think will be difficult. Putting together a smart controller proposal is going to be difficult. I don't have time for that right now. What it really does is it slashes time and creates efficiency to keep the ball rolling. So when we're efficient, we're able to resolve things in a timely manner. You're gung-ho, on to the next one. Let's apply what we just did there. And what ends up happening is it grows and confidence grows and it just keeps growing and growing.
That's awesome. And that's really what we want to tout in this message, right? That's the message for today is it's not just the widget. The support services are something that we invest in, and we want to make sure that we are seeing our partners through from beginning to end and making sure that they can leverage our support into efficient field management and into momentum with their customers. All right, so I'm going to, again, share my screen here real fast. We're going to go back. So the first point I wanted to make was with James and what difference does customer support make? And I think he said that very succinctly and eloquently. So thank you for that. Now I want to move over to Chris Mendiola. He, again, is our Vice President of Customer Service out of Boise, Idaho. And Chris, I asked onto the show to talk about the daily grind of customer support, because this is a huge undertaking that he oversees. And so I wanted just to get his impression on kind of let my listeners know all of the things that are going on behind the scenes and how much work goes into that, as well as highlight in his view what my listeners might benefit in resources that we have or customer support mechanisms that they might use to better access good support. So Chris, let's jump in. So first of all, you sent me some slides and I've made them into my own slides, but these speak to your daily grind. Can you walk us through what we're looking at here?
Yeah. So at a high level, these are just kind of some year-to-date numbers, right? Just some stats on the volume of support and kind of the level of support that we're aiming to deliver. So on the right-hand side, left-hand side, you'll see we've got some total volumes, right? So total calls to date, email cases to date. So the WeatherTRAK support team handles a variety of inbound requests, and those come to us from inbound phone calls, emails, web request forms, all sorts of texts, even things like that. And so that's kind of really the sheer number of cases that we handle, especially during peak season, is reflected there, right? Yeah. And we're just kind of on the tail end of the irrigation season, starting to ramp down, but those continue through the end of the year. Our calls never really stop. The average duration you see there is about how long an average agent is on the phone dealing with some sort of interaction. And those requests can range, in scope and complexity. It could be something as easy as a user access to something as complicated as an activation. And so all of those kind of times are calculated, and you see that they spend a little over about 12 and a half minutes on each call. So with that in mind, our goal is to be able to get to everybody as quickly as possible. Our target goal is we want to try to answer every inbound call within 3 minutes, and we want to try to respond as quickly as possible to voicemails, emails, that type of thing if we miss a call. So you can see down there below, the last stat I put in there is kind of our average wait time year to date. So we've been able to keep it right around 3.5 minutes on average, and that's through the peak season when we're taking several hundred calls a day, with spring startups and then, steady state during the summer, the hot months and things like that.
And let me just say, through my experience with WeatherTRAK, which is a very long one, the 3-minute wait time is something that is worth bragging about, because that wasn't always true, right? When we were a smaller company back in the day, and we didn't have the same level of resources designated to this, those wait times were right on the lips of every customer that I talked to. Yeah, I can't call customer service because I'm waiting for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and they're never getting back. I'm not in a position to wait for that long. So huge shout out to you and your efforts and your team's efforts to keeping that response very timely for our users.
Yeah. And, we know everybody's busy. Everybody's time is important. A lot of times we've got people that are calling on site and they need to talk to somebody right away. They don't have time to send an email. It's urgent, right? And that was, you're exactly right, Ben. That was one of the things that I noticed when I first came here, and was really one of my big focuses, because one of the number one bits of feedback I always got was, hey, support's great when I can get in touch with them. So I wanted to make sure that, hey, if that's the problem, let's make sure you can get in touch with them easier. So we're always looking at ways to improve that. We're looking at ways to add new contact channels. And, we do really value feedback from our user base. So that takes me kind of the next stat here, which is that gauge at the top for something called CSAT, which is our customer satisfaction score. So for those of you that have called into support before, you probably got a little follow-up survey text once you were concluded with your call that asked, to rate our service. How did we do on a scale of 1 to 5? So this is a overall year-to-date average out of 5 of what our feedback is from you guys as customers and users. So we have about 5,500 or so surveys overall so far this year, and we've been able to maintain a 4.8 CSAT rating, which is great. That's phenomenal. I wanted at 5, but I'm a perfectionist, and we can't always attain perfection. But 4.8, I'll take that any day of the week. But what's more important about that is that's really the voice of our users, right? That is the most important stat, or one of them anyway, that we look at to determine how well we're doing. Because if that number's low, that means we're dropping the ball somewhere. We're failing you guys, and support isn't doing its job to its fullest. So
just to build on that real fast, the message to the users in this case is that text that you get after your support call is important to us. Please let us know how we're doing. If there is anything that you're concerned about, that's a great time to kind of voice that. Know that this is being viewed by Chris and his team and escalated up to the executives when necessary. So
and to build on that even further, if you think it goes unnoticed or unheard, please don't. I assure every one of you that if we get a low CSAT rating, me or my supervisors are looking into that. And in most cases, we'll actually reach back out to get some additional feedback from you to say, what did we do that we could have done better? Why did you rate us this way? Essentially, if I see, like a 1 or a 2 on that list, I'm concerned, and I'd like to get to the bottom of it and like to see what I can do to fix it. So that feedback is extremely valuable and very much appreciated.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Boom. This is a great slide that captures kind of the diversity of the requests that you're managing, right?
Yeah, at least a sliver of it. So this is a breakdown of kind of the top 5 types of requests that we get through support. So you can see on the left-hand side there, we've got all of our cases are classified in some way. We have a type and a subtype, and then we actually track how we resolve those cases as well.
Not classified like we can't talk about them, but
no. Categorized. Yes, thank you. And so what that does is it gives us a lot of valuable data that we can go back and review, and we can try to shift our focus in certain areas, to see how do we streamline this process? How do we make this more efficient? How do we make it take less time for a user to get X type of request completed? So the first chart there, you can see our overall types. And by and large, we're looking at controller issues, which are usually alert related, failures, hardware issues, that type of thing. And then we see the next two biggest pieces there are activations and WeatherTRAK. WeatherTRAK, again, it could be a mixture of some alerts, programming questions, training tutorials, user access, things like that. And then the activation deactivation process is simply the setup or takedown or replacement of a controller. On the other side there, you see the subtypes, which break down the parent types even farther. And it kind of just goes into supporting the data that we see from the types. But it'll take it further, like, if it's a WeatherTRAK type request, is it access, is it status, is it programming, that type of thing. You can see a big portion of those, though, are access requests, general training questions, and new activations, as well as status inquiries. So some of the things that this helps drive are, informing us, what are the top call drivers? What are the big frequently asked questions? And how can we implement new processes or new training programs or things like that to help promote self-service, make it more efficient, and, like I said, ultimately get those requests done faster.
So that is one of the things where I cross over, right, is that training component. I do use this information to see what those most frequent calls are about, to see if there's something that I can do in training to help build our users better and make sure that they're successful.
Yeah.
One obvious example of that is the alert videos that you now get on the alert notifications, right? The alerts were a huge call driver for many years. So we built systems to kind of get you the answers where you need and not have to call in. So a good example of how that system works a little bit.
Yeah, I really like the fact that I can see, so many of your videos and your training topics are geared specifically towards these. That's tremendous. And that just kind of highlights the fact that we, are very collaborative. All this information that comes in that we gather, we share, and we work within our company and different organizations to just kind of create the best overall experience, product, service that we can.
So this isn't on your slides, but this is someplace that James and I, talking yesterday, felt like we definitely wanted to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, can you talk a little bit about how a customer call, when it is in need of getting support all the way to the top, kind of how that walks through our process? I know that I want to remove the mystery of how issues get escalated.
Sure. The customer service team, the people that answer the phones and answer the emails are really the tip of the spear, right? So they're the front lines. They're the ones that are going to help diagnose early issues and bigger problems. And we have an internal elevation and escalation process that helps promote that through to an eventual resolution. So essentially, if it comes in at a frontline call, and it ends up being something bigger, we have the ability to elevate that within our group to have a deeper set of technical resources start digging into it. If it gets to the point where we've determined, hey, something's just not right, it's broken, there's a fix that's needed or whatever, we have a formal escalations process, which will actually bring together elements from our operations support team, our engineering teams, and our product teams. And we all get together and we just hash that thing through to figure out what's the root cause and how do we solve it. And then from there, that feeds into things like feature enhancements and firmware update fixes and release updates and things like that. So we really have that whole flagpole that we can run things up. And then the end of that is hopefully, it all loops back and we touch back with that originating customer and say, hey, we've got a fix for you now. Should work as you expect it to. Please, validate and let us know if it's still broken.
Love that. So just to recap, call comes in at customer service. If they don't know or can't find the answer, it goes to a level 2 support person, somebody at the top of the customer service chain, like Chris Mendiola or one of his peers. Beyond that, it goes to escalations, right? If it doesn't have a simple solution, then our escalations team gets involved and they see if they can find either a workaround or a reason that it's not working. And then if they don't get there, it goes to the escalations meeting where customer service, training, sales, everybody, product management all sits in on that conversation to find out exactly what's going on and how our customer is impacted, and put our heads together on how do we work for a solution on that.
Yep.
So I thought that was worth investigating, worth talking about, right? Just to remove some of the mystery and let people know that we definitely have an organized system to take on whatever issues you are having out there.
Definitely. A lot of behind the scenes effort and work gets done to make sure that things flow smoothly.
All right. Your final slide. And then I've got one, and then we'll wrap this guy up.
All right. So basically these are, kind of the overall theme of this is, just support, right? And that comes in a variety of factors. There's training, there's customer service, there's, working with our users to provide education and easier tools and processes and things like that. So I just wanted to quickly highlight some of the initiatives that we've kind of rolled out over the past year. So first and foremost, after coming off of 2020, which was a weird year for everybody, I was very pleased to be able to get all of the support staff back in the office and get fully staffed, right? So like I said, one of the main things is to make sure that we can address calls, requests, concerns, issues as quickly as possible. And I got to have people to do that. So being able to have the team back and fully up to speed is great. And I hope to just, continue to maintain that and hopefully scale up as we continue to grow. Training initiatives that we've kicked off. So one of the big things that we get feedback from is just the relationship and being able to really relate to issues that people are having, especially when they're working on a site, right? Large part of that is a good understanding of irrigation design concepts, basic things like that. One of the areas that I wanted to make sure we had some training and focus on, at least internally for our team, is specifically that, so that we're better trained and equipped to help our customers. So one of the things that we have kicked off recently is we've started putting my team through some of the standard Irrigation Association training classes. So it's the same industry standard certification classes that you can go through to get certified in the field. If they want to.
Carr has some of those certificates. James, can you tell me what your certificates are?
Oh man, I've got more letters after my name than the doctor.
Yeah.
So the starting one is essentially the Irrigation Association Certified Irrigation Tech, which is just kind of a comprehensive run through with stuff that a tech or anybody dealing with irrigation should know. And then from there, it can morph out to Certified Irrigation Contractor, which is more of a deeper dive on things. And then there's Certified Landscape Irrigation Auditor, which is basically the efficiency, and Certified Irrigation Designer, and it goes on and on.
And so what I like about Chris's initiative here is that when we all are taking these IA classes, we start to establish a common vocabulary. We start to call the same things the same names. And I really think that helps facilitate good support and good communication across everybody who's involved. So I love that your folks are doing that, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, if we don't know what you're talking about, it's hard to help despite our best efforts. So I'm really proud that we've been able to kick that off, and we're going to keep that rolling. And then, who knows if they want to parlay that into a full-blown certification, and, we can just help continue to drive training and build them up. That's great.
I'm going to ask you to not go too far onto the user onboarding, because that's
sure.
What I have.
I will say we have user onboarding, and Ben will talk more about that.
Okay.
And then finally, with the rollout, hopefully that most of you have seen, of the new website, we do have a new knowledge base that's been set up. So really our goal is like I've said a couple of times, is to promote self-service, give people the tools and the resources that they need to be able to quickly look up an answer to their question instead of having to, wait on the phone for somebody to answer it for them. So one of the things that we're really focused on is our knowledge base, and providing comprehensive knowledge articles, troubleshooting tips, best practices, definitions of, like, what does this alert mean? How do I fix it? That type of thing. And this new knowledge base that we've rolled out is really slick. So, we're still getting everything kind of reviewed and compiled, but there's a lot of great information in there, and I wanted to make sure we called that one out.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm involved with that as well. A lot of that involves the training materials that I create. And what I like about the knowledge base is it's a word search, just like Google, but it connects you to whatever you're looking for in the WeatherTRAK world. And so if you search water window alert, you'll find all the articles and all the videos and all of the support resources in the database that we have to kind of answer those questions and get you what you need. So I think it's a really cool tool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And not to get too geeky, but there's a lot of good data and metrics that we can pull off of that too, that we couldn't before. And so hopefully that's just going to continue to strengthen the type and amount of documentation that we have out there.
That is awesome. Thank you for all of that, Chris Mendiola. You are a champion of customer success.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So real quick, I wanted to talk about this new awesome onboarding experience that we are creating. This is something that came to us from the brilliant minds of Amir Omar and Meg Mason, I think is where it started, or at least that's where I saw it start. I hope I'm giving credit where credit is due. They realized that a WeatherTRAK user, if you just signed up for a WeatherTRAK username and password, you got a fancy email that said, welcome to WeatherTRAK. Here's your username and password. Here's a few resources, and then nothing ever again. If somebody logged in, that was their one communication. If they missed it, they missed a lot, right? And we never did anything to help nurture them as a user and expose them to all of this support structure that we're talking about today. And so, what we have done is created this new user onboarding project where a new user, when a new user signs up for a WeatherTRAK user account, of course, immediately they'll get this first email that says, here's your username and password. But we follow that up on that same day with a second email that says, hopefully you've logged in, hopefully you've seen that, right? Just making sure that you've seen your password. That's a critical component for your success, as well as start to introduce them to some of this support network that we have access to. So whether it is the training or the knowledge base or the YouTube channel where I put up weekly videos, just some great support resources to help walk them through the process and get them comfortable with some of the technical stuff. After that, 3 days later, they'll get another email from us that has highlights some frequently asked questions, some rain pause issues, some, just some of those advanced user things. Hey, I bought a smart controller. I want to know how it works. How do some of these features actually integrate into my workflow? This is something that James and his guys will definitely be using, talking about different plant types, different soil types. Like, it is the granular kind of information that irrigation guys out in the field really need to know. So it is pointed towards some of the more technical stuff. Alerts, managing alerts. James will tell you, managing alerts is the number one thing in managing controllers. WeatherTRAK creates alerts to tell you that it wants your attention, and understanding those alerts is a big deal. So we have a full communication that deals with that, right? How do we manage alerts? How do we change to user mode programs? If I have, James was talking earlier about overseeding, right? It's almost overseeding season. And how do I change the schedule to reflect my needs? So we've got that email sent a week after. 2 weeks after your initiation or your initial email, you'll just get a follow-up talking about reporting and some of the great information from a high level, right? You can look back and see all of the runtimes or alert histories or program settings changes that have been made on your controllers. And then finally, a month out, we have the 6th iteration of this email campaign that just basically connects you and follows up and connects all of the dots together. So I think it's an amazing initiative that kind of, instead of here you go, hope it works, kind of follows up and continues to reach out and connect our users to the support network. I'm going to go back. James, does that make sense? Did you see any of that?
All of it makes perfect sense. And I think it's a beautiful additional resource.
Yeah. So it's not anything new. It's really just opening the visibility into kind of the resources
Right.
that already exist and letting people know how to get access to them. All right. So we had one question come in. Let me go back to the Q&A. Oh, Chris Mendiola, this one's for you. What is the average wait time during peak hours? Renee wants to know.
During peak
season,
hours?
The hottest day of the year with the longest wait line, how long are those folks waiting?
So I guess it's going to depend on how we define peak, right? For us, our peak seasonal hours are between, March and October, and really from about 10 in the morning until around 2 in the afternoon, which is basically the business hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
The average that I shared before was for all the business hours year to date. Peak season, if I split that down, I believe I'm just spitballing here, we should still be right around 3.5 to 4 minutes.
So in July, your wait time is still under 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Renee, I hope that answers your question. And James, you got a shout out from Charles talking about thanks for participating. So awesome work on both of those things. Now let us get back to the format. James, I'm coming back to you. We are coming in on time here. So I always ask the first time special guests, what does WeatherTRAK save you?
WeatherTRAK essentially saves me stress levels. The fact that I know that our team members have the tools and resources they need to get things accomplished and resolved quickly is priceless to me. I'm encouraging efficiencies. I'm encouraging reaching out, and you go above and beyond to make sure that that's something that happens, which gives me a little bit of peace, because anybody in the industry knows there's a fire here, there's a fire there, and the less fires you have to deal with, the easier the new fires are.
That is awesome. I like it. Anytime we can alleviate stress, that is a step in the right direction. All right. So with that, I'm going to share my screen one more time. We're going to talk about, of course, I always want to plug customer support, and we're here. We've already talked about all this stuff. So next week, we will be investigating how many points of connection can WeatherTRAK manage. It is a in-depth conversation about the different styles of controllers and the flow capacities of the LC, the Pro 3, and the OptiFlow XR, and kind of what that looks like, and spell it out in no uncertain terms. So that should be fun. Chad is going to be a great guest. He is works for Heritage Landscape Supply and has been a central control guy for a lot of years. I also wanted to give a quick plug to what I'm working on behind the scenes. My training initiative is the WeatherTRAK Tournament of Champions. Again, we're going to fill the last 5 episodes of the season with the WeatherTRAK Tournament of Champions. It's going to be a game show for all these great WeatherTRAK users and who have been special guests on the show. So I'll keep you posted as we go, but I have officially secured all of the contestants, and I wanted to share that with you. So week 1, we have our California water management leaders, Danny Smith from Park West, Andrew Chase, who is on the call and works for Monarch Environmental as their resource management consultant. Max Moreno, or Aqua Max, will be on that show, as well as Chad Sutton from Gachina. So some of our great users and some great WeatherTRAK champions are going to fill up the first episode. The second episode on November 17th, we're going to have Eric Anderson, the dude from Southern California, Site One, who has been working with WeatherTRAK longer than I have, as well as Andy Clarkson from Tennessee, Scott Smolin from Northern California, my Raider fan friend, and Joe Jackson, who I have to say, in the early returns, Joe Jackson is the odds-on favorite for the championship tournament. Joe is a super WeatherTRAK user. This is where it gets interesting. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this today is because week 3 will be our BrightView bracket. So we'll have Eric Santos as well as our special guest from today, James Carr, participating, representing, and I would like to see you walk away with the championship belt, or at least the championship t-shirt that comes along with winning the round, as well as my friend Alex Chavez, who is one of our water heroes, and Mike Kompinski, who is my BrightView guy here from my own backyard, the water management champion in Colorado. And then last but not least, we will have a week of contestants from HydroPoint who have been on the show. Ben Slick, who is an often co-host, who often co-hosts this with me. Chris Shreenan, who was a product specialist for many years in California and now is our field tech in Florida. Bob Beers, who you might recognize from our feature release parties. And then Chris Mendiola, who is on the show today. So we got a full slate of awesome WeatherTRAK champions. And I'm excited to bring that to you. I continue to work on it, and I will release little bits of information to as we finish up the details. We're working behind the scenes on that to get that all secure. So we are looking forward to Dropped, the WeatherTRAK Tournament of Champions. So both of you, thank you so much for participating today and participating in that. James Carr, do you have any final words you want to leave us with?
I do. Just encourage everybody to stay passionate, stay positive, stay grateful, and make sure you highlight the team, encourage them, and above all, utilize the resources you have to give the client the best possible experience. And if you can do that, we've all worked together to be the best water managers possible.
I love it. With that, we're going to leave you till next week. Thanks, everyone.